Hi everybody, my name is Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about my January wrap-up. And this was the most I've read in 1 month, and I think ever. And I read 6 books. And I don't have the stats of them. I think I have like 2 fantasies, 2 thrillers. I don't know what one of them was considered. I guess just a fiction. And then 1, like, a classic, I guess. And the ratings I was kind of surprised with on some of them. Whoa, Claire, you're doing limbo under there? I think I read more because of I was more focused. So I still had, sometimes I had things on in the background of the TV and I would get, you're crazy. Tickle, 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 tickle. And I would get distracted a little bit, but I tried to make sure that I focused, that I either didn't have the TV on or had something that I really, really didn't care about, just wanted the background noise. And so it was just, I think I focused a lot more. And I think with reading on the Kindle Oasis that my husband got me for Christmas. Oh, there's Rogue Butt. Rogue Butt! He's your Rogie there. Hi! Hi! Anyways, yeah, so reading on the Kindle Oasis, I think has made me read even faster as well. I don't know why. I think I like reading when you can see how many minutes are left in the chapter. And then I think it makes you want to go quicker to the next chapter, especially when it gets closer to when she's about to wake up. I don't know, and it's just pushing those buttons on the side, something smooth about it. So let's get into what I read. The first thing I read was on my Kindle Oasis, and I wanted to show you those buttons. This is really cool Kindle. I highly suggest, even though it's like, okay, I'm putting this away because you're crazy. One I read on the Kindle Oasis was The Midnight Library, and I read like half of it in December and then the rest of the half in January, and it was good. I gave it a 4. I was kind of expecting a little more, or I knew after a few chapters where it was heading. You know, it's kind of predictable, but the journey there is what's important. But the message was really good. I think, people should read it, especially like if they're struggling with how their life is going, or they wished that maybe their life went another way. I feel like reading this would make you appreciate your life more, or maybe that you made the right decision. So, yeah, it was just an okay, but a good message book. That's why I gave it a 4. And, yeah. And then the next one I read was Verity by Colleen Hoover. And that one was a 5 for me. Claire. Yes, you're cute. We all know it. Definite 5 for me. It was so much fun reading. I went through that in 3 days. I mean, people probably read that shit in 1 day, but I read it in 3, which was a really good read for me. And it's a thriller, romantic thriller. It's the twist at the end was kind of like, whoa, why didn't I see that coming? I feel like I should have seen that coming. And then especially the end was kind of like, I don't know how I would have done if I would have done what she did, or if I would have gone a different route. It's just crazy to me. That whole story was cool. I just highly suggest it for a thriller, and it has some romance in it, but there are some like really messed up shit going on in that story. Like the way, like the one main thing that like made me like really upset was in the story, this lady neglects her babies and just keeps them in the room all day crying, and then right before her husband comes home, she goes and pretends like everything's fine and just feeds them, and they're all quiet because they're fed. And it just pissed me the fuck off. So sorry if that was a spoiler. I don't think it was. Not really. So it just pissed me off. But it was a 5 out of 5 for me, because that just shows how good the thriller was and how much you hated like that character. And then the next one I read was The Poppy War by R.F. Is it Kwang or Kwang? I am not quite sure. And this is a fantasy story based off of the Japanese Sino Wars. It's like loosely based off of it, because there's a lot of similarities, I guess, but they added fantasy elements and they made their own little world. Like, so I could show you the map here of their land, and it's really cool. Kind of, whenever they do maps like this, it always reminds me of like Lord of the Rings. But like this is supposed to be like kind of like China, and this is like Japan, and this is I can't remember what island that one is. But it's just like really crazy how they added their own little thing to it, and such a great story. It's like you think it's gonna be a YA because the girl is like 16 at the time. I forgot how old she was when she first starts off, and then it's like it goes off a little bit later. But I really enjoyed this. It ended up being adult, especially with the amount of violence that ends up happening in it and the decisions they have to make, and it's really messed up. And it's a character that kind of drives you crazy. You like her to a certain extent, but you also hate her certain decision making, or you can tell she's a teenager, youth mind, how her mindset is, and you're just like, she kind of pisses you off. But you have to think in the light of, you have to think she's young, this is how her mind works, and this is how it goes forward. But that's how it makes the story perfect. And so all the other characters were really fun and stuff, and you really get frustrated with a lot of these characters. But there is like this one part that I like cried at, because it's like towards the middle, I want to say, that is just really graphic. It is kind of war type, and it's the way that the enemy treats everything. It's a definite trigger warning for people who, it's very violent. I don't even know how to, it's like a torture type thing in one specific section, and I'm really glad they did that in one specific section. Then at the end, there's this whole other thing, but it's not graphic, but it's just kind of a messed up decision. And I can't wait to finish the series, go on to the next one. I heard that the second one is like the best one out of the 3, but I'm trying not to get my expectations like, Anyways, if you're into fantasy, even if not, like if you're into that Japanese Sino-war stuff, or if you know about it, I would suggest reading this, because maybe you can put out the similarities and the differences, because that'd be cool to hear about. Then the next one I read was for from Gabby Reed's book club called The Book Troop, and it's The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins, and this one I gave a 3.5. It was really, I read this pretty quickly as well. I don't remember how long it took me. It didn't take me that long. Read it in like 3 or 4 days, I want to say. And it was okay. Like, it had me hooked. And it was another thing where you didn't know if the main character is reliable or not. I see baby butt. You don't know if the main character is a reliable source, and you don't know if you can trust her. You don't know her past. Eventually things get revealed and stuff, and then also the rich people in the town she's working for, and you don't really know. Bro, what are you doing all creepily over there? If these characters are gone, if they're missing, dead, alive, a lot is, and you don't know what characters to trust, and that's what makes a thriller, is when you're like, what the fuck's going on, who did it? And then it's kind of like an underwhelming ending for me. It was kind of there's a kind of a cool idea at the end that makes you think, you're like, But otherwise, some of the stuff doesn't make sense. And I watched like half of I still need to finish the other half of Gabby's live show with her sister. And her sister was so funny talking about this. But like everybody was going off and bringing up really good ideas about certain things that happened in there that I didn't think about. I'm like, yeah. What the hell? And you're like, so I really appreciate my 3.5 rating, but enjoyable throughout the whole read if you're into that. And I heard it's like a Jane Eyre. Is that what people are saying? So I guess if you know how the Jane Eyre books end, then I guess this. But yeah, you can read that. And then the next 2 that I read were on my Kindle, and the next one I read was 1984 by George Orwell, and I never read that in high school. And I wanted to read it because of, there's the political climate right now, and reading this, you can kind of like combine it, and it's just like a book that really, like, you can't trust the government, they can it's, you know, thought police, mind control, and it just really makes you think. And that's why I'm like, really, I don't trust anything really in the government, depending on what it is. But it's like, I don't like having the government control anything that we do. It should be our decisions. Not getting political. So anyways, I gave that one a 3.5 because the story was really good. This was written in the 40s and about the future in the 80s, and it still comes into play today, and it's just amazing how he wrote this in the 40s. But there was a lot of slow, I guess a slow burn to where you get all the details about the world, and I understand they're trying to set it up, right? And then it was kind of boring, and finally, like, halfway through, it starts getting real good and interesting. But then there's this thing where this character reads a book, and you're reading it with him, and it's like 50 pages of him reading this book. And then after but he's not done, he only just reads 2 chapters of it, and he's just like, these are things that I already know about. Why did we spend 50 pages reading about something this character knew about already, and he already kind of talked about, and there were just more details in this, and that pissed me off. So that's why I gave it a 3.5, and the ending was kind of like, you know, I didn't really know what to think about the ending. It's just messed up. So anyways, the last one I just finished on the 31st. Today is February 1st. I wanted to wait to film this until I knew if I was going to finish that book or not, and it's Away. And I don't remember what her the author's name is. Let me see. Darcy Little Badger. She is an Apache Native American lady, and she writes the main character. It's kind of like a young adult fantasy type book, and the main character is an Apache girl who's 17, I want to say, and it uses the Apache culture and things that they believe in, and the things that the family traditions that they do, and it's really interesting. Plus there's fantasy elements in there, so there's all these other different types of characters. So like, she could wake up animals from the dead, but not real, they're like ghosts. But the main one that she has is just her dog, who she had for her whole life and then passed away, and then she brought the dog, so it's a ghost dog, and it helps her with different things. But then there's also like vampires, but the vampires are a little different. They only live until they're like 90 years old or whatever. And then there's other different magical elements. People can produce light, or there's people who could heal. There's psychic abilities. There's just a bunch of different elements in this, and it's like a mystery because the main character is trying to figure out what happened to one of her family members in this town, and the town vibes were kind of in there's one part, it kind of just reminded me of like a Stephen King thing in a way. But anyways, I suggest reading it. I gave that one a 4, I want to say. So I gave 2 5s, 2 3.5s, and 2 4s, I want to say. And this one was a 4. I was kind of expecting more because it was Kayla from Books and Lala's channel, her second favorite book last year, and so I was just like expecting a little more of it. But I did highly enjoy reading about the Apache culture, and I kind of want to read more about that. And so I think I had a really good reading month, the best one I've ever had, and I think that yeah, honey, I counted, I averaged it out, and my average rating this month was a 4.1. So that's actually really good. So I can't wait to read my next book. Yeah. Thank you for watching and watching my daughter mess around me. Please like and subscribe and comment about any of the books if you've read these or haven't read these, what you're reading, what you read in January, what you're planning on reading in February. And thank you again so much. All right, bye.